Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, are you hanging in there?
I am barely hanging in there. Today was not, I didn't cry too much today, so we're only a few days out from the loss of Sam. And so today was a better day than the one before it, and I'm hoping that those just keep going in the right direction.
Amen to that. Yeah, we are recording this on a Monday, and Sam passed on Friday. And as I described it to somebody today, today being Monday was 100 times better than yesterday, and yesterday was 100 times better than Saturday.
Yeah,
So. Yeah, and Sam had been in hospice for a few days, and that included before it was public, and so it was. It's been a week at this point, even though it's only been a few days since he's passed. So yeah,
well, I got to tell you, as personally upsetting as this has been, I'm just overwhelmed at how nice you people are, and all of the notes, and how many of you have reached out on social media or on Patreon, or those of you who have our contact info have hit us up an email and text. And I don't have a place to, as far as I'm concerned, we're just a couple of dorks with microphones talking to our buddies. And
right.
The notion that this has been helpful for you is, I don't know what to do with it except to thank you.
Right.
For all of that support. It's helped me process.
Oh yeah. Oh goodness, yes. Yeah, I between Facebook and I've posted a couple of pretty long posts there, which I've just found very therapeutic. And Facebook messages, Instagram messages, LinkedIn messages, text messages, emails, phone calls. That's been the real silver lining is even some of my friends who I'm in like constant contact through like GroupMe and that kind of thing, but just because we're all busy and because of technology now, we never talk to each other. Like my best friend in the world, Russell Beebe, who was really close with Sam, and Sam did some really important things for him in his life as a musician and as a human. He called me, as soon as the news broke, he called, and we talked to each other for 20 minutes, which was great. So, there's a number of friends who I've actually spoken to, just people calling and checking in on me, and it's people have really, really rallied. And the thing that is amazing about Sam Palafian is how many people like you and I need checking in on. Mm-hmm. It's like usually there's like the immediate family, maybe like, a best friend or a couple. And then other than that, there's a bunch of people that are really sad, but it's not like just kind of, debilitating grief. So, but he, as I put in my first Facebook post, that there were a lot of people who, I said that you could just spend one masterclass with him and feel like you had a lifelong connection to him. And I said, why you feel that is because you did. It's like that's the kind of impact that the dude had as a human, as an educator, as a musician. He lifted everybody up. So
when he was talking to you, you were the only human on the planet.
Amen.
He was just totally, completely fixed on you.
The opposite of what band directors joke is called the Midwest handshake, which is when you are someone shaking your hand and they are literally looking over your shoulder at the same time as they say hello to see if there's anyone more important that see if they can spot John Mackey to beeline over to him because he's more important than you are, And
he wears pointy shoes.
And he's hilarious. So, but yes, we need to have. He's agreed to be on TEM. He should be on Brass Junkies too.
We should have him on. Yeah.
That'd be a hoot. But anyway, Yeah, it's and in fact, Sam did so much for me and my career. I wrote it all out. Lance, let's throw the link to that. Actually, I'll shoot it to you
Okay.
in the show notes. It's just a blog post. I first appeared on Facebook, but I try not to drive extra traffic to Facebook. But yeah, it's just like it's unbelievable what he did and the impact that he had on me, and therefore on all of my students, and therefore on all of their students. And it multiplies quickly with a whole lot of zeros moving off into infinity. So
Yeah.
yep.
I've told, I mean, when I knew I was getting out of the Air Force Band, and I knew Pat was he decided to get out and get an MBA. And I was like, I'm just not going to be able to do that. Sam basically fire hosed an MBA's worth of information into my ear on long distance phone calls. And I probably had 50 or 60 pages worth of legal. I was just writing as fast as I could on a legal pad. And he probably spent between 30 and 40 hours with me on the phone over the course of, I mean, it was just like as much as I could digest. And then a few months later, we would do the same thing again. He'd stay on the phone with me for hour after hour after hour and talk about, here's the recording industry, here's the booking agents, here's the touring things, here's how you deal with the promoter, here's how you put a press kit together, here's how you do an arrangement. Every single aspect of together, he just like dumped it out of his brain into mine.
Jeez. When I produced a recording session for the first time, 3 years ago or something like that, I texted him and I said, "Hey, do you have any pointers on producing a recording session?" And he texted back immediately and was like, "I'll call you in an hour." And then he called me in an hour, and then I took like copious notes. I mean, it was like he just talked for like 8 straight minutes, and it ended up being exactly what I needed to hear. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the ears thing, but also just the managing humans and taking taking the temperature of the room and retaking the temperature of the room constantly, so that you can just put the humans who have done all the work on the art in the best possible position for them to get it captured by the mics. And I mean, it's just. Yeah, it was a masterclass on producing. So, which if I ever have, and I will have a student who asks me, I will give them the answer key as well, because I'm just going to regurgitate what Sam said to me. It's
Right.
it's really hard to believe that information stream that I was spoiled to have like absolutely unrestricted, unfettered access to for 3 decades it's gone.
Okay, so now here's a crazier thing.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if it's crazy or crazy. The guy you're about to hear the interview with I can't process everything that has gone into making Richard White who he is. And this story is just mesmerizing. And in fact, you're going to hear our ads for Parker and Duquesne here in a second, because we were going to do it during the show. We were so wrapped by what he was telling us, we kind of blew past that completely. So
Yeah.
I don't want to give him short shrift, because he was in a lot of ways the perfect guy to interview with us trying to process this, because he's so real, and he's so honest, and he's so open, and the world is blowing up for him in fantastic ways. And I can't wait for you to hear
You're about to have your socks knocked off. Yeah. At one point, I told him that his attitude was irritating because it's so genuine. It's just, this is the perfect interview for us to have right after. I mean, as I think I said during the interview, if whatever, or during the bonus episode, or when we're chatting, I don't know. But if this had been scheduled for Saturday, we do a lot of these on Saturday morning, it would have been canceled. Like I mean, I didn't go 20 minutes without sobbing on Saturday morning. And if this had been yesterday, it probably would have been canceled, because I did go for an hour and a half at stretches without crying, but like it wasn't hour and a half stretches I got to choose. So,
Yeah.
and it was perfect. So, and this is a long ass intro, which we've been trying to trim them up, but we had to get just a few thoughts into the microphone, and there's much more to come on the Sam front in terms of the Brass Junkies. And sadly, we'll never get to do a part 2 with him. But we've got some special stuff that is in the works. So now is going to be the most succinct messages from Parker Mouthpieces and from Duquesne University you've ever heard. Thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model euphonium mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hey, very special thanks to the Duquesne University Mary Pappert School of Music and to Jim Nova for making that happen. You can click on the link in the show notes /Easter eggs, and it'll take you to a page that's been designed specifically for audience members of the Brass Junkies, and you can find out about what's going on there. One of the things that I have not mentioned in the past is how often Jim has brought in guests. As a matter of fact, tonight I was unable to make it there, but Jamie Lipton, who was our guest on episode 15 of the Brass Junkies, was a guest this evening. He's had Joe Alessi, and he's had Michael Saxon. It's just an incredible array of folks. So in addition to the opportunities to study with the crack team on faculty there, you also will get exposed to some of the best and brightest in the country. So check out that link.
And the very last thing is a huge congratulations to our former intern, who's all grown up, Buddy Deschler. He is going to Arizona State next year to start pursuing his doctorate. His teacher and one of his mentors, Joe Bergstaller, is on the move from Peabody to Arizona State. He is the new professor of trumpet starting there next year. And the coolest thing is that Buddy is going to be he's the TA, so he's getting a free education. He is the half trumpet TA, and he's the half entrepreneurship TA with our dear friend Deanna Swoboda. So that's like
very cool.
Amazing. Yeah, we love Buddy. And cool stuff. So congratulations, buddy. Your good things keep happening for him, and they should, because he's the real deal. So speaking of the real deal, man, this interview is going to blow you away. Without further ado, let's get to our conversation with Richard White. And today on the Brass Junkies, we are joined by an old friend, a badass tuba player, a doctor of tuba, and his name is Dr. Richard White. Richard, how are you tonight?
How you doing, fellas? I'm doing good. Raw tuba in the house.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Right. I've never talked to an actual movie star before.
Right? Yeah, like a genuine one. Like, the story behind that is, I love the fact that and we're about to hear all about this, but that there were filmmakers who were going to make a documentary that Richard was going to be a small part of, and they talked to him, and he was so interesting that they were like, we're bailing on the first idea, and we're just going to make a documentary about this dude. That's crazy, man.
I was just trying to remember the fingerings, man.
Lance and I talked. We're going to build you up for the first half of this, and then we're going to knock you back down the second half. So yeah, you'll be able to feel the turn.
I wouldn't expect anything different.
Yeah. It's kind of like the trajectory of many of my students' semesters. So
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, hey, all right. That was edit that out, Will. No, don't leave that in. So Richard, talk to us about. And we want to talk to you about other things too, but this is crazy, fascinating, and I think this is going to blow people's minds. Talk to us about this documentary and how it came about.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. The film is called Raw Tuba. I got lucky. My name is Richard Antoine White, and as you all know, I play tuba. So, Darren and
Wait,
Dave.
slow down. I don't get it. I get it now. All right.
Darren and Dave are from Baltimore, so they have a passion project every year. Their last one was called Throw, and it was pretty much about a yo-yo a player who got himself off the street and found his identity playing the yo-yo. So this film was accepted in the Mountain Film, and they were talking to the director of the Baltimore School for the Arts, where I'm alumni. And they were like, yeah, we think our next project is going to be about the arts, how they're underfunded. No one really cares about the arts. So you should talk to Richard. So, these two cats called me up, and we had a conversation. And by the end of the conversation, they was like, okay, we're done with the arts film. We're going to do a story about Ra. And I was like, really? I'm cool with that. And I think what they were trying to do is just have a feel-good story, especially what was going on in our country at the time, politically and everything. They felt that Baltimore needed a good story because at this time we had I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Freddie Gray incident.
Oh, very.
Stirred up some riots, and people in Baltimore went crazy, man.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bring some love to Baltimore because, the most love we get is from The Wire, and I'll go on record and say that The Wire is not fabricated. That is life in Baltimore, 100%, man. So started talking to these cats, and they were like, man, this is fascinating. We're going to do this. They interviewed me and decided to come out to Albuquerque, and it was weird, man. They came out, cameras following me everywhere, and I'm like, I'm going to go to the bathroom now. We put that on pause, right?
What kind of documentary is this?
Raw. Wait a minute.
They wanted to get, as much footage as they can, and that's the way it works. I had no idea about film. I was like, it's just going to be like a 15-minute documentary, right? Which ended up being much longer. So for like every 2 seconds you see on a film, that's probably like hours of videotaping, literally. Wow. They came here, got me playing with Santa Fe Symphony, got me playing at the university and with the NM And then from there, I went to Baltimore, and then they, started from the beginning of my street life, hired a actor to play me as a kid. And the whole process was just fascinating, man, because I hadn't seen those streets since age 4, when I was found. And I didn't even know if I could find the hood where I grew up. I was like, well, I guess if you drive around, stuff might be noticeable to me.
Wow.
And that's literally how we started filming in Baltimore.
Wow.
So how long was the process? Like, how long did these guys follow you around?
The whole process took a year and a half. The cutting room, once they got the video and all that, it was a week in Albuquerque and a week in Baltimore. They wanted to just focus on the beginning and then where I'm in now. So the Indiana years were left out, I had to give, the Godfather, Mr. P, some love and a big hug. There is a picture of us in the movie when I graduated. By the way, don't tell anyone. When I graduated, he hooded me, but he had to get a stool.
I won't tell anyone. Lance?
I'm writing on the show notes / Easter eggs, Dr. P and his stool.
And his stool. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
That's awesome.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
So,
go ahead,
how much did you have any? Did you leave all of the editing choices and did you just leave all that to them, or did they involve you in this?
That's a great question, because this just a selfish plug. This isn't going to end. Like, as soon as this movie is accepted into some film festivals, which it has been, we just can't say publicly. I'm working on a book deal. I had to get a literary agent, and that's in the works now. So soon after, the book will come out for this. During the whole film process, I let them be the artists. I just figured I wouldn't want like a coach behind me when I was playing like Brooklyn 7, screaming in my ear, no, louder, softer now.
Really? Was that the articulation you meant to play with?
Right. That wouldn't quite work out. So I gave them complete artistic freedom. I trusted them. You get a vibe with people. Either you jive with people or you don't. It's really not complicated. I felt a good vibe from them from the beginning. So I had nothing to do with the creative process. And when the book comes out, I'll let the ghostwriter, have their artistic freedom as well. I think you get a better product.
You're too close to it, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, not just too close to it. I mean, it would be awesome only to me if I total movie and just sat there and told you my life. I eat biscuits every Sunday morning, and on Monday I like my coffee without cream.
Right.
know?
So let the filmmakers make film and let the tuba player play the tuba.
Yeah, they make the magic, man. So I let them be experts at what they're experts at, and I tend to do that.
This is blowing up. I mean, that's not news to you. So what's it like behind your eyeballs? I mean, what's this experience been like? It's got to be crazy. It's just very surreal, I would think.
I mean, most tuba players have a literary agent, but other than that,
my life is not my life. We didn't expect this. I knew that this film would come out. It would be a feel-good film. We were in Baltimore. There was a lot of running around, and they tried to get CBS to cover the story, and CBS is CBS, so they was like, "Oh, you're leaving tomorrow? Oh, that's so sad. Well, we'll catch you next time." And I was just like, "Okay." CBS just blew us off, and so somebody said, "Well, won't you send them, the script?" So they sent them the film, and the next thing you know, man, I got a call saying, "Can you change your flight? We're sending an affiliate from New York and DC to you. We want to cover this story."
Wow.
And it was just like that, man. So the filmmakers, to their credit, really produced a film that's speaking for itself. Think about this. All the hype that's happened here, Daily Beast, CBS, I had to actually say no to Today's Show and a couple other outlets because the book has to have something to pitch it to.
Oh, yeah.
Behind the scenes. But the bottom line is that the producers did such a good job that the film is really speaking to people, and I'm sitting back watching it happen. This film has not entered its first film festival yet, and all this has happened already.
Jeez.
I watched the
That's crazy.
CBS thing. We're going to put the links to you'll be able to follow the film at the official page along with Richard's website, but the Daily Beast article and then that CBS News profile that he mentioned will be down in the show notes as well in the links.
Hey, Lance,
Nice.
do you know what I just heard him say? That he said no to the Today Show, but he said yes to the Brass Junkies.
I know.
That's right.
I think he might need another agent.
Hey, what happens between the Brass Junkies stays between the Brass
There you go.
Junkies.
And all 5 of our listeners are going to pinky swear to not tell anybody. So.
Awesome. Man.
So you talked, you just mentioned about, you said when you were found when you were 4. I bet a bunch of people listening to this probably do know already, and then a bunch don't. Can you tell us the backstory there, what you were just talking about?
Yeah, man. So when you watch the trailer, it's a couple things in the trailer that, when you're doing a documentary, you got to, say what you got to say and has to be pretty direct. So, the whole time they're making the film, bear in mind, I was found when I was 4. So they're like, "Hey, man, you remember, eating out the trash can? You remember being eaten by rats?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And she's like, "At 4, you just can remember that?" And I was like, "I think so." So I was like, "Man, do I have that good of imagination? I don't think so." So they had some credibility issues. So in the trailer, when you see the lady go, "Oh my God, baby Rick,"
Right.
we just randomly picked the time to go to the hood. I said, "I think this is where my family lived. I'm pretty sure." I was talking about a shoe store, man, because the shoes used to be too big. I would get hand-me-down shoes, so I would stuff newspaper in them so that they would fit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they call me the barefoot kid. I was like, this is uncomfortable. The heck with these shoes. This lady heard me talking about the shoe store, and she was like, "That hasn't been a shoe store in 30 years. Who are you?" So I told her who I was, and then she was like, "Oh, my gosh." She was like, "You was found here. Last time I seen you, you didn't have shoes. We tried to give you a sandwich." And she broke everything down, and the film director said, "We have no more credibility issues. We're sending up the drones." And I'm not joking. Then they sent up like 3 drones to, take pictures of the hood and everything. And any issues that they had as to the authenticity of my story left. So she told me I was found in the vestibule. It was a storm, frozen. I woke up the next morning. A lot of blankets, a lot of tea, and a lot of discussion. And crazy, man. They called authorities, and the same people that foster cared my mom ended up getting legal custody of me.
Wow. So you even learned.
Yeah.
So you learned about your own situation through this filmmaking process.
Oh yeah, man. I was 4, and I went back looking for answers. I found a lot of answers, and I'm still finding some answers. You know, it's like as this story unfolds, there's more and more stuff to put in this book, man. My world is just being opened up, and you know, I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with a lot of stuff because I'm still processing it. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I see other 4 years old, and I'm just like, how is this possible? The other thing, you guys watch the trailer. Both of you watch the trailer?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
So you see me at the water fountain, right?
Yes.
And I lose it. So here's why I lost it. I hadn't been to that water fountain, and I couldn't reach the water fountain when I wanted a drink. So I would climb up the water fountain, and then it's an old school water fountain. So when I climbed to the top, guess what? My foot couldn't reach the pedal. Because you had to press the pedal. And so I freaked out because I was like, well, how small was I?
Wow.
Right? And so I cried because all of a sudden in that moment, I realized, wow, I know why I ended up in the actual fountain now, because I couldn't reach the water fountain. So that was a really powerful moment for me, man.
I'd say. Well, how did you keep? I mean, I'm my emotions are always right on my sleeve. How did you? I mean, I saw that you broke down there, but what toll did this take on you, or does it continue to take on you? I mean, I just can't imagine this not tearing you up.
I'm exhausted right now emotionally. Yes, started Wednesday with film for UNM to the students. There's a mandate I put on the film directors. Every city and town that this goes in, it has to be shown at a high school or some kind of center, just to give back to the community, and so that I know that it's reaching the people that it needs to reach most.
Awesome.
You know, what I want most from this film, man, is for every person with any kind of doubt, any kind of deficiency, to say, I can do it. You know, so every time the film is shown, man, I'm exhausted. I relive. I cry at different parts. I have different memories triggered. So it's an emotional journey for me every time it's shown. And I just said today to someone, you know, at some point, by the time we get to like the 45th show or showing, I'm probably going to have to stop watching it. You know, because every showing so far, I've been emotionally drained. And then I have to come out and play. And you guys know me, man. I've trained classically. So when we were in the studio, you know, the DJ was like, I called him a DJ. Wow, the producer. The producer was like...
It's like a movie DJ.
Right? The producer was like, man, I need a boom, ba-ba-doom, boom, boom, boom. And then I need you to beatbox and make some of that noise. And I was like, excuse me, you got some manuscript back there? You know? I was out of my element, man, but I did it. And it was organic. It was electrifying, man. It changed the way I actually think about music, man. And, you know, much like the aura of, you know, Sam, you know, last night dedicated We Are the World to Sam, and it was really awesome, man. It's the kind of thing that he would jive on, man. What we gonna do We Are the World with Tuba? You know, he would be like, yeah, man, I dig it. We gonna have some synthesized strings or what? How we gonna do it? You know, he was always that person that would just, you know, take whatever you had and turn it into gold, man. Rightfully so, nicknamed Midas, man. And that was emotional last night. I told Eric, I was like, look, when I dedicate this to Sam, man, look at me, because if I'm crying, we're going to have to wait a couple minutes before you start this piece. Wow. You know, and Eric Rombach, you know, they've done a lot of recordings. He had my back, man, so he was looking at my eyes, wiped my eyes, and, you know, we started the piece. But, yeah, man, it's right now, emotionally, it's like hitting reset every time we do it.
Jeez. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so this is being recorded on a Monday. This is going to be released in 8 days, but Sam Palafian just passed away on Friday, so that was 3 days ago. I know, well, a lot of people have been having a really hard time dealing with this loss, and I know if we were doing this interview, if we were doing this interview on Saturday, then it would have got canceled. Last night, I think I would have been basket case. I'm able to hold it together tonight. But
Right.
can you talk a little bit more about what Sam has meant to you as an artist? Because you're right, you just described him to a T in terms of like what he brought to the table musically. Like take what you're good at and then turn it into gold. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, I have a job because of Sam, man. So, I came here on a 1 year, man. I was on the circuit, changed the way I think about the industry. Him and Mr. Phillips, man. I was like orchestra nerd all the way, man. I came to New Mexico as a pit stop. Yeah, okay, I'll play with the Phil and be on my way. And then, I played here a couple of years. Steve Campbell kept winning jobs, so they were like, "Can you stay another year?" I was like, "Well, what? Didn't he just win a job? What did he win now?" So
He did have a habit of winning auditions.
I think at one point the dude had like 3 jobs, and they was like, "Are we going to need you to stay?" So I was like, "Okay," And then basically, New Mexico Symphony had some troubles, man, and went down.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh man, I guess I'm going back on the circuit." At this time, Sam was doing some recording projects here. So he was like, "Yeah, man, we started this, mobile band in Arizona, and, we started the Breathing Gym." And he's like, "Yeah, man, I think we on to something, for some different kind of jobs for some cats." And so he plugged this thought in my head. So I met with the administration here at UNM, and I was like, "Yeah, I got to leave. The symphony's folding." They were like, "Well, we'd love to keep you. If we had money, we would create a position." I was like, "Excuse me, time out. So if I find the money, you're going to create a full-time position for me?" They was like, "Yeah." So I went home, thought about what Sam had said with the mobile band for the football team. I scheduled a meeting with the athletic director and said, "Hey, man, what if I taught your football players respiratory functions? Would you pay my salary?" It was a 5-minute meeting. He said, "Absolutely."
Yes.
And so that's Sam, though. That's Sam, right? So that's how I got my job here. And initially, I was supposed to teach the football team respiratory function and have a mobile pep band for football games. We ended up sucking that year and being the worst team in the country.
I remember that year.
Because of you.
So they were just like, "Well, can you get us 15 tuba players? Because we need some entertainment." I was like, "Now that I can do in my sleep." So I went and got 15 tuba players or whatever we had that year, and the rest is history. They gave me a full-time tenure track job here at UNM, and it was because of the influence of Sam. I would have never thought to go teach athletes respiratory functions, but he was that kind of cat that would just come up with something that you never heard of. You're like, "What? Is this possible?" And then you'd be looking at him, he'd go, "Yeah, man, why not?"
I can charge people money to do that thing.
Right. So, I think not just to me, but what Sam meant is what I'm going across the country speaking, man. I'm telling people to believe in the imagination, that it's not BS, man. And if you really turn on your imagination, the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
And Sam just was the perfect example of that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he much like Harvey, man, they just have that hustle in them. You would go to Sam and be like, "So, man, I don't know what I want to do, man. I kind of want to play in the symphony. I kind of want to teach. Which one should I do?" And he would just look at you and go, "Why do you have to choose?"
Right.
And then you look at him and be like, you the man,
He was good at pointing out assumptions. Like, yeah, you were making, I think, a very false one, but a very understandable assumptions. Like, I need to choose, and he's like, "Wait, what? I don't agree with the construct of your question." Like, it's like, no, do it all.
Yeah, man. And I think that's something that he put on all of us, man. That him and Mr. P and Mr. Phillips, man. Look, you're in the business of music, man. It's like, you got to do everything. You walk in the store and, you don't have cash in the cash register. We have a problem. It's a business.
Right.
And I think he's given that gift to anyone that has been close to him, that has worked with him. Mm-hmm. So it's a tremendous loss, man. Much like everybody else, the first day I was just in denial. Like, this is not happening.
Right.
Really, looking into the world on what's happening here. Somebody's got some explaining to do. This is not okay.
Yeah.
When you start using words from the explaining, not explaining. You know, somebody got some explaining to do. That mean, you know, we ready to rumble, right? You know, so you know, the good news is, man, Mr. Phillips would always say, if you want to be successful in this business, think of something that doesn't exist that is needed and just do it. Now, everyone can judge for themselves. Count how many times Sam has done that, and you're going to run out of fingers.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and the good news is we have all these projects, all these things he left behind as a legacy. And he's going to be with us until we decide to leave, you know, and we'll have a toast, pearly gates, or wherever we go after this land. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, well said.
Let me turn this in a different direction,
please,
because I'm trying not to cry.
Yeah. That's not what we need, Lance. That was we
I know.
Enough of you crying on this damn podcast.
I know. Well, we're not done
There's
yet.
Still time.
So, okay, so you mentioned that they cast a young man to play you.
Yes.
How old was this kid, and how did you get to know him, and what was that like?
Oh man, his name is King. So first of all,
King.
Yes, we hired King. They sent out a casting call. King got the job. I met him, and I mean, he was drinking Red Bull like he was going out of style. I tried to follow suit, and I think I was up for the next 2 weeks.
Don't be trying to hang with the young dudes, man.
Oh man, he was awesome. So we were supposed to have a lot of scenes together, but what ended up happening is the assistant for the film crew locked our keys in the car. And I was like, man, I ain't proud of this, but I could probably break into your car. So she was like, really? Because I really don't want to call a locksmith. You know, I don't want to spend $150. And I was like, all right, give me a hanger and I'll help you out. So this is before we even shoot. I'm like, oh man, here we go. Richard back in Baltimore in the hood. Now we're going to see who Dr. White really is, right? So we just knocked on a random door while King is supposed to be shooting. They decide to take him away and shoot. And I'm like, you know, trying to get into this car. And I'm like, oh, this is like a new car. So eventually I took the antenna, tied the antenna to a hanger. And for an hour, I worked on this young lady's car and finally broke into her car. And then we started shooting. At this point, we've already been there like, I don't know, I would say 2 hours from the time they actually pulled out the camera. So King was really tired. And, you know, he was a professional. He shot all the scenes that they needed to, laid on the cardboard under the tree, and ran up the street barefoot. And it was a real heart-to-heart moment, man, with a little dude that, you know, made a difference and thousands of people are going to see. And I think you're going to see this young man in the future. So kudos to King, and thanks for playing young, raw Tuba. He did a great job.
How old's King?
King is like 5, man, 5 or 6. Same,
holy cow.
Just above where I was when I was found.
Did they have anybody portray you at any other ages? I wondered if you had a chance to work with a budding tubist. You had to train anybody to play the tuba?
No, they didn't go that far, but they knew they had to get those scenes because of how it was found and the significance of some of the details. Because at that point, they didn't know where they were going to go with the film.
I see.
You know, and that lady we talked about earlier, she also showed us the tree on Riggs Avenue. She knew the name of the street where I used to sleep under. So it's all authentic, man.
Wow. So it sounds like the process for them is very, it's one of discovery. Like they thought they were going to do this one thing and they just sort of kept following their instinct, and they built, you know, they found you and realized that this story was more powerful. And then they had some notion of what they wanted to tell in the story, but then even that continued to evolve. Is that accurate?
Pretty much. This was supposed to be a 15-minute documentary, man. And then they were like, we just can't do it. They could have done a feature film. Bear in mind that when we started this project, this is out of our own pocket, their pocket, my pocket. I'm paying for myself to come to Baltimore. And the more they start digging into my life, the more we start talking to family members. My dad, they were like, look, we just got to tell the story, whether we get the awards for the 15-minute documentary or not. we're going to make a half-hour film, and that way, if TV want to pick it up, we can do that. And we just got to make sure we tell the story. And their only concern was that I was happy with the story through the whole process. You know, so they would check in and say, "Are you happy? Is this okay?" And I'm like, "Fine, man. I don't think you can do any better."
So it's 30 minutes, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you do the showings, then it sounds like you show the film. You talk before it, you show the film, and then you play a little bit afterwards, or it's still that
oh man,
still working its way out.
One of the links you're gonna want to find, man, is so there's always an entry act, whether it be a brass quintet, you know, or something like that. Last night it was a poet named Houchin, and he wrote a raw tuba poem, man, that you guys will really dig. I mean, he's coming up with some analogies to the tuba. I'm like, man, that's deep. Awesome. You know, you want to put that link on there. So it opens up with some act. And then after that, it's a brief intro of the film. Then the film plays. While the film is playing, no one knows I'm in the house. I'm never seen. Soon as the film ends, I come out beatboxing on the tuba, and my brother comes out. We rap, and the crowd goes nuts because they just seen this emotional film. They just heard a classical symphonic musician pretty much bust a rhyme and rap. So we do that performance, and then we have question and answer, which is always intense. I could tell you a Baltimore story about the question and answer if you want, but after question and answer, then we go back and we end with "We Are the World" because I just think it's appropriate.
How cool is that?
And that's the script for every show that we do.
How many places have you done this so far?
So we've done it in Baltimore and New Mexico. We're working on Memphis, Detroit, Ottawa. You guys know Chris Lee, principal tuba, in the Arts Orchestra there. We went to school together. Connecticut. Got a lot of places on the line. The thing is, you notice we're calling them screenings. We can't call them premieres until we accept we decide what festival we're going to go to. We've been accepted. Once they announce it, we already know which one we're going to, and then we can tell everyone, and then it will be the world premiere followed by the world tour.
Gotcha.
So
Chris is awesome, man. He's great human and a phenomenal musician.
Well, let's get Pittsburgh on the list. So let's figure that out. After we hang up, let's figure out how to make that happen here.
Oh, for sure. I think, you know what? I was not going to go to iTech, but I think John Manny got a wind of this, and I may be at iTech because I'm pretty sure they're showing it. And Pat Stuckeymeyer is not letting this go. He's like, this has got to happen.
Oh, wow.
So probably going to be there, too.
Cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So what happened in Baltimore?
Oh, so you said, you asked me about my emotions and, how I'm dealing with this. So we do the premiere in Baltimore, and a gentleman stands up, and he's like, he points to Ed Goldstein, my first teacher, and says,
I know Ed.
Yeah. Well, you were my stomping ground, man. So
yeah, that's right.
He says, I want to thank you for giving him a chance and teaching him how to read the notes. Then he looks at Federally, and I want to thank you for, being hard on him and showing him the way. And I'm like, okay, buddy, thanks. And then he's like, looks at my dad, my foster dad. He's like, I don't want to thank you for giving him a home. And then he turns to the whole one. He says, I want to thank everyone in here. I was incarcerated, and I'm glad he found his way. And it was my natural dad.
Whoa.
Right? Like, time out, I was literally paralyzed for I don't know how many seconds or minutes. Electrifying emotion ran through me. I discovered my dad. I went and gave him a hug, man. And I'm bawling, he's bawling. The audience is in total amazement because they're figuring out what's happening here and who this man is. And then I'm trying to figure out, okay, I got lumps in my throat. How am I going to play We Are the World right now?
Jeez.
So I slowly walked back to the stage, and it was a magical moment. We got to know him, had dinner afterwards, and, that relationship is building, man. How crazy is that, though?
That's all of the crazy.
Right.
Oh my God, that's all.
Whatever the amount is, that is whatever the maximum is. Like
That's
however
all
high up that goes,
crazy.
that's it.
more crazy than I am familiar with.
That's all the diamonds on the slot machine, right?
That's right.
Yeah, 90% of my interviewing skills are just saying like generally funny like wisecracks, and I'm having trouble because this is like this is deep, man. This is blowing my mind.
Oh, so you just have to read the book, and then every time you see me, you can make a wisecrack.
Yeah.
Well, first he's got to learn to read.
Oh, in the to that end, it had better be on Audible. But so that the rest of us tuba players who aren't doctors can also enjoy it. But I promise in the 5 seconds between this and the bonus episode, I'll hit reset and then I'll bust on you as I always do, just so that you don't feel too weirded out. So
Right.
I promise.
All right.
Yeah, I promise. Well, I just don't. That's incredible. I mean, the fact
Right.
if that happened in a room like with just the two. I mean, but like in front of an audience and like and the fact that he was
Over 400 people, sold out house, man.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
Well, if it happened in a movie, you would go, "Wow, that was
Exactly. Like, this
Right.
was a really good movie until that part, because that's just not believable.
How unrealistic.
It's forced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
I mean, that's been this whole process. I'm like, playing catch up. I'm like, okay, usually you write the book, then you get a book deal. I don't have a book, but I got a book deal. I'm like, whoa.
It turns
So does the
turns
phone just ring? How's that happen?
Right.
Like, what's the process there? Because that's a thing I don't experience. I don't imagine experiencing.
I don't imagine you experiencing it either.
It's crazy because, in the phone will ring and sometimes people will say, yes, I saw you on CBS and we've got a jazz fest and we'd love to have you out. And I'm like, did you read my bio?
Oh, geez. Oh, you're not a jazz musician. You must be a rapper. Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's nice to have the energy behind this and, to get the phone calls, man. You guys been my friends for a while. So, when I started selling raw tuba t-shirts, everybody thought I was crazy. And I was like, I just want people to walk down the street and be like, what the hell is a raw tuba? Well, let me tell you, So I never intended to make money off of raw tuba t-shirts. I just wanted one in every state or in every continent. And then when the shirts start coming back with people with raw tuba on the Great Wall of China, no one was laughing anymore. It was like, this dude is crazy.
Wow. Jeez, man. I just keep saying wow.
All right, I'm going to try and turn this in another direction
All
again.
right, please, Lance,
All right,
save
here we
us.
go.
You overlapped. Your time at UNM overlapped with that of dear friend and former colleague of ours, J.D. Shaw. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So
what was that like? What was that like being there with Mr. Shaw?
It was awesome, man, because J.D. Shaw, he's a horn guru marching band specialist, and my job required me to work with the marching band. And so, it's funny, me and J.D. talking, he's telling me about his DCI experience and, everything that he's been through. And I'm like, yeah, well, my drum corps experiences with brass theater. I was dressed in drag, I wore leopard skin tights and played Ryder Valkyries.
See, now JD just did that for fun.
Yeah.
You got,
right?
That was just a Thursday night on Boston Brass Tour back in the day.
that's right.
I mean, he bust out laughing, man. And then he was like, man, can I get a pic? And I was like, what? You want a picture of that? So the next thing you know, those pictures were floating around on Facebook. I love JD, man, and what he's done for our marching band and what Pat and Sam showed him. The legacy continues here in New Mexico. We can take a 130-piece band and make it sound like 250 because of them. J.D. Shaw, inherited the breathing techniques and a lot of stylistic things from those two cats, and came here and really took UNM marching band to a whole nother level. Playing with him in the quintet, man, you guys have done this all the way. playing all the Boston brass charts. Andy, man, I studied. I was like, man, the chicken, man, this is like the real solo. You want me to do what? Play how long? That caravan, man. I was like, we're gonna write one rest, maybe.
See, I used to have a rest, but then I would start screwing around. So then JD was like, "Your rest has been rescinded." Yeah, like keep the rule of his arranging was keep the horn on Hitz's face.
Oh man,
then he can't talk.
Oh, come on, man. Those arrangements are fire, man. And then that Terminisca, that Russian thing, I was like, man, I'm good with off beats for about 2 seconds. That's what you get. I'm golden. Nailed it for 2 seconds. Once you start writing beyond 2 seconds, we got a problem, man. So I learned a lot from JD. I was sad to see him go, man. We jammed, we toured. Brazil, it was just awesome, man. And, it was fun studying you guys because I had to learn these charts quick. And then, you guys are entertainers, so we would learn the charts. And he's like, yeah, we're going to come back from the stage and, we're going to memorize this. And I'm like, we're going to do what? Remember who? I was like, I don't know him.
I love that your life is so interesting. Your story, your just life arc is literally there are people like contacting you to become literary agents, and you're like, I don't want to play offbeats for 3 seconons, and I don't want to memorize a 5-minute chart. That's funny, man. That's funny.
I forgot what memorized means.
Yeah, you guys have done that, and it's like. It's not like 30 seconds of memorizing. JD, you got to go get the trumpet, then you're going to get the horn. I'm like, what is happening here?
What is happening here? Explain yourself. What does JD even stand for anyways?
He is another one of those cats that views this industry as a business. He is not just a horn player, man. He is a music guru, businessman, and I learned a lot from him. It was awesome having him here, man, and I miss him.
Yeah.
JD, love you, man.
Oh, he doesn't listen.
So he didn't listen. But what's the gig now? Are you still working with the marching band, and do you do stuff with the football team, or like what's the gig entail for you at UNM now?
So I actually have grown to love the marching band position. It's the most people I ever get to work with or perform with every week. My position now is associate tuba and euphonium professor and associate marching band director. I think it's going to change. This film is catching wind. I think I just proposed to them that I be outreach, diversity, and recruitment person because I've been doing so much motivational speaking. I wanted to do that anyway. You guys know my ultimate dream is to just have a tuba ranch like Mr. Phillips. I expect you guys to visit often, so it's going to be just beer 24/7, chili, or ramen noodle. You can come anytime. It'll be a stage there. You can play any time of the night. If you don't have an instrument, you can whistle or snap your fingers. But just in that great tradition of, I don't know how other musicians do it, but you guys, all the cats that I hang with, whenever we play or we do something, the hang is just as equally as important as the gig.
Yes, sir.
Amen to that.
If you don't have the hang, I'm getting back on the plane.
Yeah.
So that's what the Tuba Ranch is for. Just come through. You having a bad day, just, say the hell with it. I'm going to Raw Tuba Ranch, man. Come on through. We'll always have a room for you and a stage if you want to jam, man.
Love it.
So when's the Raw Tuba Ranch opening? What's the projected
I'll let
date?
You know. Just keep track. Let's see how this book deal goes.
Yeah. I like it.
So
that's pretty good.
Friends of Richard, do not ask him for a free copy. You need to buy one. So that it's like, consider it like buying a brick for the Tuba Ranch.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, taste of them.
You're talking about the hang. My dear friend Lance LaDuke, who I do not like to say nice things about, but he's a world-renowned euphonium player. He can't even go to the grocery store without getting stopped by people. Like, it's
because I'm a shoplifter too.
It's amazing. He's got a formula, which I was actually just today talking with a music business consulting client about. How about that, Lance? I'm not giving you a cut at all. But there are three there are 3 boxes, and 2 of them have to be checked for Lance to even find a clean pair of dress socks, let alone leave his house, which is which is the art, the hang, and the money. And 2 of those 3 things need to be check marks, or else, I don't leave the house. Now, if one of the check marks is like, if you want to pay me like $5,000, I've never, by the way, that's never happened. If anybody wants to, if you want to pay me $5,000 to play a recital, I'll do that tomorrow. And I haven't played a note since I heard about the Sam thing. I've just been but I'll play a full recital tomorrow. I'll play solos that'll make me sound like an ass tomorrow for $5,000. But if the art is amazing and the hang is amazing, then I don't need the money necessarily. It's like it's a good formula, but another thing is that Pat Sheridan, who is a world-renowned tuba player, I did the brass gym with him in Arizona last month. I actually am very lucky. I got to fly down to visit Sam. What I was hoping was not one final time, but what ended up being one final time. And anyway, I'm going to stop talking about that before I cry. So, the beautiful thing was that I went to Pat's house and did brass gym with him and somebody from the Phoenix Symphony at 7:30 in the morning, and it was amazing, and it totally recharged my batteries, and it was great. But he talked about how athletes almost never train alone, even in the off season. It's like, Major League Baseball players will frequently find 2 or 3 friends that are often on other teams, and then they all go to Phoenix or they go somewhere warm usually, and then they train together. But us musicians can do a lot of the alone training, which can really be a grind. And that morning, man, it fired me the hell up about playing. Just spending those 2 hours with those 2 guys, doing it in a group setting. It was so good. So open the damn ranch.
Yeah, man. My teaching philosophy is simple. Number 1, have fun. Yeah. Number 2, always sound good. Number 3, always make great music. It's really that simple. The rest is BS. Not really, but you get the point.
Yep.
I tell my students, don't neglect number 1. We're supposed to have fun, man. We forget that sometimes, and it's not okay not to have fun. So the ranch will be a place of fun, place of fellowship, and a place to just be you, man.
So, the motivational speaking is taken off like crazy as well. So now, do you have a literary agent? Do you have a speaking agent as well? Or are you booking it as you go right now?
Up until this point, I've been doing it myself, but it's getting to the point where I'm going to have to figure out something. I started this, my whole deal, and you'll see this, and I think one of the shows, the CBS shows, a Baltimore newspaper, from high school, man, my goal, Baltimore Sun did an article on 6 seniors, where will they go? My high school goal was to be the first tuba to be on a rap record and to get on Oprah. So I've started my whole life.
You mean the show or?
Yeah, it's Oprah's show. Here we go.
Gotcha.
Man, it took us a long time, but we got to Jackass. There we go. It was like.
Let me put my seatbelt on now. The ride has begun. So I wanted to be on Oprah, so I started looking up positive quotes every day, and just on MySpace, man, everybody should remember what that is, and would just write stuff on MySpace with the goal of just getting on Oprah, man. So I've been looking up positive quotes and being positive for so long, man, that I don't know how not to do it. So the motivational speaking really took off in about 2009. And you guys might remember this because I think we saw you. It was either at the Army conference or in Bloomington. Me and Kevin Sanders from the University of Memphis started something called Hustle and Flow.
Yep.
Everything they didn't tell you in music school.
Yes. I remember.
Right, and that's what triggered the speaking thing, man. And Pat Stuckey might would always say, "I just got one question: who's hustle and who's flow?"
Yeah, I was just going to say that. That's great.
And so from there, we each just took our own paths and been motivational speaking ever since that Army conference in 2009, man. From hustle and flow.
Wow,
it's crazy. So then, how in the blue blazers are you going to balance all this? Well, it sounds like, actually, let me pivot that question. So
Blazes.
it sounds like UNM has been very supportive, and why wouldn't they be?
Right.
So at what level, like, are you dealing with School of Music or arts folks, or you've moved up the food chain to provost level and president level? Like, what kinds of conversation are you having there?
Just talk to the dean, and she's going to talk to the provost. You know how that works. You got to go through chain of command.
Right.
UNM has always been supportive. I love tuba. I like, playing tuba. I am at that age where, I look at Mahler 5 and go, I've played this one before, and then I go, oh, I've played this one a lot before. So I'm diversifying the portfolio, man. I think, I don't know how long I'll be able to do everything, but for as long as I can and as long as I have qualified students, I'll have them come in and sub for me. Ideally, what the future looks like for me, a very competitive studio of 9, 4 euphoniums, 5 tubas, some kind of associate dean position where I'm just doing outreach and recruitment for the student, for the student body here at UNM, and touring as a motivational speaker. It's part of my creative work. So at UNM, I'm allowed to miss 45 days a year without being in trouble. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah, right. That's a lot. So
can you do those in a row? Can you just show up like the second week in November?
You know what? I call HR because I was trying to negotiate to teach at Northern Colorado and here when Alex or Jenny left. Somebody left. And so it's just right next door. So I was trying to do both. And I call HR here at UNM and say, hey, can I do this? They're like, well, you can miss 45 days without being punished. And so I realized, I could teach 8 weeks of lesson and then be done. That's not the most healthy way to do it. But theoretically, you could do that. I'm not sure they would be smiling when you came back, but you could do that.
Some of your students would be. They'd be like, I haven't played a note in a month and a half. It's been great.
Right. So I'm very lucky right now. They're supportive. They're flexible. And because of the nature that it's just a feel-good story, everyone is very kind. Everyone is helping. And, my schedule is really busy, man. Up until I've just recently lost 54 pounds, man. I would be in a hospital.
No kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
I would be in a hospital. No one knows this. Every October, man, in ICU because I just worked myself to the ground.
Whoa.
I had to do something, and that had to disappear. So I started Weight Watchers, and
good for you.
I'm counting points every day, man, and on my way down. I have 76 more pounds to lose.
How many layers is this interview going to have?
Oh man, man, you're talking to raw tuba, man.
And I expected it to have a lot, but you're full of surprises. Good for you. That's awesome.
Thanks.
It sounds like you believe that the best is yet to come. Does that sound right?
Always, man. The best part about every day is that I'm not done yet. Mm-hmm. That's my motto.
You are having to give up. You're talking about this transition from, well, first you thought you were going to be an orchestra player, and then you add all the teaching stuff, and now the film thing hits, and now the public speaking, and then the book tour. And so as these new opportunities come up, then you're going to have to let others go. And have you come to terms with that, or what's your take on, can you see? Yeah, go ahead.
I cry, man. I was just called to play the soundtrack for the new Disney movie, and I had to turn it down.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, right? Can we all cry for me just a couple minutes here, and we can move on?
Absolutely.
As I move forward, man, the main thing for me is to keep my integrity. Hans Zimmerman, I guess, got wind of me and wanted me to come out L.A., and, I'm a person of integrity. I called Jim and Doug Turnquist. I was like, hey man, I got this call. I live in the desert in Mexico. Is this kosher? And am I taking food off your table? They respected that call so much, man, that later that day in their opera, so it was like, man, we want you to take the gig because most cats wouldn't have made that call.
That was really cool. Jeez.
And I think that's the most important to me moving forward, regardless of what happens, that I maintain my integrity. So amazing gig can come through, and if I don't think I can do it to the best of my ability or at A+ level, I'll walk away from it, man. So moving forward, I just want to do everything with integrity and excellence. And if I don't think I fit the bill, I'm okay with letting it go.
What a perspective. With where you come from, I don't think that I would be critical if you were just kind of, getting everything you can. I mean, I just, that would not be a crazy conclusion. And I don't mean like nasty cutthroat, but just,
right.
Just kind of being wired to just to never.
Man, it's how I was brought up. It's how you were brought up. We've got we're all family, but we have cliques of family, the Sam family, the Mr. P family, Mr. Phillips family, the Jacobs family, so in some ways, I don't know how to say it, we're small mafias, man, and I'm loyal to the family. So
right.
If you're a tuba player, I know it's a weird analogy, right?
No.
the tuba mafia. So I try to take care of the family, man, and I think it served me well in the industry, I mean, there's probably a couple people out there that will say I can't stand raw tuba. But for the most part, I'm cool with cats, man, and if, I can do something for you, I'm going to do it because so many people in this industry have done something for me, man.
Right.
Wow.
Your attitude is actually starting to irritate me. It is so refreshing. It's like it's just enlightened, but it's genuine. It's like no part of you is saying this because it makes you look good. I mean, it's like you live it. Because if you were saying all this stuff to look good and didn't mean it, you would be insufferable. And but it's the opposite of that, which is just. Yeah, that's great, man. Lifting other people up.
Yeah. This journey, man. This has been the path, man. We were in school the same time, man. I remember auditioning for all those festivals, man, and seeing cats like you get them and go, oh, man, I must really suck. So you know what I did? I put all those rejection letters on my wall, on the ceiling in my room with a note that says, when you don't feel like practicing, remember these.
Oh, wow. See, that's awesome.
So
I got to cut you off. The upbringing that you had, and the first Boston Symphony concert that I went to, I was 2 weeks old. I mean, it was Tangoed on Parade. It was like I was out on the lawn. It was, but like,
whoa.
man, I saw the Boston Symphony 200 times before I graduated from high school. There's no literary agents that are going to be buying that story. I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, that got a whoa out of you because that's like kind of crazy. But man, who the hell would judge you for being bitter that somebody like me had that kind of a massive head start? And the fact that I knew Chester Schmitz on a first name basis, and Gary Ovenlock and Sam Palavian and all these people, and that you were dealing with, I mean, in that trailer, you talked about how there were times when you had to imagine that you had a warm blanket on at night to try to be less cold. I mean, man, I would never question you being bitter at somebody like me, and yet you just put the damn thing on your wall or on your ceiling and used it to make yourself a better person. That's inspiring. That's crazy.
I mean, when you cats would win, especially Steve Campbell, I was like, I got to go find this cat. He's making the finals, everything. Mm-hmm. I went and asked Steve to play duets, man, and it was some stuff that he could do that I couldn't do. I simply said, thanks, man. I'll be back. I went same with Tony Niffman. I went away after those first meetings with them, reading duets for like 3-4 months, came back until I could do what those cats could do. And that's really how I proceeded, man. I've never been angry at cats. And if you look at this in the big picture, man, basically me being African-American, you've got the Renaissance period, the Baroque, classical, contemporary and romantic in between there. Basically someone saying, look, we've been doing this for hundreds of years. Here go a tuba, catch up.
Yep.
I mean, so even if I didn't have the street background, there's still some catching up to do, and I'm okay with that, man, because we all start at different levels, but if you can make the cut, we all end up in the same place, which is professional.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Wow. Well, you've always got your jazz career to fall back on if you ever need to.
Hey, man. Right. It's 1 in 3, right? Just checking in.
Oh boy. Yeah, if you're ever looking for the bridge on a tune, that's when I look like I'm thinking really hard. That's the bridge. So that's an easy way to identify it. Yeah. Hitz looks like he's doing calculus right now, like in his head. What's going on? Oh, it's the bridge. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Nice.
So Lance, anything else before we ask him for his irritatingly enlightened opinions on how Jens can turn his life around?
I was going to say something about our good friend Jim Nova, but maybe we'll save that for the intro.
I think that's right. We were I think that we should, because we haven't mentioned Parker Mouthpieces either. So yeah, we will do that. We'll do that quickly in the intros. Yeah, we've been reading those in the interview, and this was just kind of like every 10 minutes you drop some kind of bomb. It didn't even cross my mind. So there you go. Well,
hey man, I know we've been trying to schedule this. I appreciate you guys, man. Mad respect.
Yeah, we were really upset with you.
Yeah. I don't
understand why you couldn't make more time for us. But you don't have much going on,
right?
It's not like you're busy.
And we expect, when we're paying our guests, we expect them to get back to us right away. So when we start paying our guests, we will expect them to get back to us right away. So speaking of Jens Lindemann's chop problems, where our dear friend Jens Lindemann was he's been going through some chop problems of late, and Google it if you need the background. He's not, but we pretend he is, and then we make fun of him because he's our friend. So what advice do you have for Jens in this terrible time of need, which is going on 3+ years now?
Wow. Jens, you have to listen to me, man, and you have to believe me. More teeth, man. More teeth.
More teeth.
Smile is not big enough. You got to pull the lips back, man. More teeth.
There you go.
Answer, You miss a low note, more teeth. You miss a high note, more teeth. You don't sound good, more teeth. See where I'm going with this?
I like
more
it.
Teeth.
I like it. Then if you just raise the corners up, then you've got my embouchure. So there you go. Yeah, you're halfway towards mine. So that's great. Well, and I've actually got I have a touching Jens story to share in the bonus episode. That's just happened 2 days ago. So there you go. How about that? We don't say anything nice about him on the public facing stuff. Yeah, it's just in the bonus episode. That's actually every bonus episode. Is just
say nice things you have to pay.
It's just us talking to. It's just us saying nice things about Jens. So yeah. So
right. Swipe your card and we'll say something nice.
Speaking of which, we are about to have Richard hang on here in just a second so that we can do the bonus episode with him. And if you go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, we just passed $250 per episode, which is incredible. For as little as $1 per episode, you can get the full back catalog, including bonus episodes with the likes of Sam Palavian. It's there's some amazing stuff in there. So go ahead and check that out, and you're going to be able to hear Richard's. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, then it's the 1 week after that. So it's the Tuesday in between the regular Brass Junkies episodes when you can hear the bonus stuff. So man, Richard, this has been uplifting, has been inspiring, motivational, all the above. You're an awesome person, and I'm proud as hell to be able to call you a friend.
Hey man, I appreciate both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And that is going to do it for this very, very fine, if I may say so myself, episode of the Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dados and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke.
LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/Pray for Jens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.